It's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. Frank, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
I'm very good. It's been quite a week, it's fair to say. Tyson Fury announced the Joshua fight was on, and then a few days later, he signed pen to paper for a different fight, the third one with Deontay Wilder. Just tell us from your perspective how it all kind of panned out in the way it has.
Right. It's going to be long-winded, this. So,
go for it.
The fight, back in January, we agreed terms between all the parties to how we would negotiate and move forward for the fight. That's ourselves, Top Rank, Matchroom, both Tyson and Anthony Joshua and their respective management companies. In that agreement, there is a clause referring to the arbitration, and it's still outstanding. The view of and I think you've seen Bob Arum's quotes on it. The view from his lawyers was that they felt that it was at an end, and that also that there'd be no problem moving forward. Having said that, the arbitrator haven't given his decision, and it doesn't matter what Eddie Hearn wants to say at the moment. The facts are he was very much aware of that agreement because he signed it, and so did AJ, as well as everybody else. Negotiations were going on for the fight for quite a while, as we all know. Seemed like it became every day. Hearn was announcing that the fight's on. Tomorrow we'll do the contracts, we'll be getting this and that, and all that was just went on and on. It became boring, and it certainly did not happen because nothing was ever signed. And that was also in breach of an agreement that any announcements would be, and we'd all announce them jointly. That was in this agreement we made. So that's where we got to. Tyson was getting quite frustrated, having been out the ring since last February 2020. And it got to a stage where we all got quite fed up being, every day we're getting closer to this is going to happen. And Tyson said, look, you've got 48 hours to get this fight on, or I'm going to fight Wilder and just bypass everything. He then had a conversation with Prince Khalid in Saudi Arabia, who gave him a lot of comfort. And I think you've seen the video that went out as a result of that. Coincidentally, the next day, the arbitrator gave his decision, which stated that the fight against Wilder had to happen, and that was it. The unbeknown to us, and since has come to light, Usyk's lawyers had said they were going sent a letter before action. They were going to injunct everybody to stop the fight because it infringed Usyk's position. And remember, Usyk was promoted by Matchroom, so they weren't looking after that side of the business. And from our perspective, none of us knew about that. We all thought that was all okay, but obviously it wasn't. And it was, as I say, they had their lawyer had written to everybody. Pat English and John Hornwell, two lawyers, had written to everybody telling them that. So that was the position we were in. Subsequently, there was talk about trying to work a deal out with Wilder, but they weren't interested. And Tyson just said, look, let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this obligation now. The arbitrator's given his decision. Let's get rid of it. And that is exactly what's happening. So they're fighting now on the 24th of July. Shelley Fink, who I know just wanted his man in the ring, as Al Heyman, his promoter, wanted it. And I think more importantly, from their perspective, Deontay Wilder wanted the fight to happen. So that's it. So all this talk over God knows how long now, how many months, and every time you and I have done an interview, I've always said there's nothing here till it's signed, because there are a few stumbling blocks to be sorted out. And obviously there's two of them. Plus we hadn't even sorted out the British TV side. Of course it was going to be Sky and BT, but the terms were never agreed. And that was another thing that had to be done. So a lot of this stuff was going out, and it was not the type of fight that needed hype. It's a fight. Everybody would see that. If you'd announced that today without all the rubbish that's gone before, everybody would be, you wouldn't have to be able to print enough tickets for it. And the fact is that, the fact of it all is it just became quite tedious. And as I say, from Tyson's perspective, he just wanted a fight. And I think the arbitrator's decision just basically, that's how it's going to be. So now they've both got to come through their respective fights, and hopefully they do. And then it'll go on in, I hope it can go on in December. The thing about it, though, is AJ going to fight Usyk or vacate the title? Number one. Number two is he's only got one fight left with Matchroom. Is he going to renew, or will he be dealing directly with him? And which will make it probably a bit easier, because the egos and everything will be going out the window. We can just focus on getting this signed up and agreed. So we will see.
If that were to happen, if AJ were to vacate and Joe Joyce were to fight Usyk for the vacant title and win, where would you sit on terms of still making AJ Fury or making Fury against Joyce for two of the world titles, and they're both your fighters?
Well, if he does vacate it, I'm sure if Tyson's going to fight, I'm sure AJ will want to fight over the summer. I'm quite confident of that. And if they do, there'll only be 3 belts on the line instead of the 4 belts, which be a great shame. I don't think it diminishes the fight, but it would be a great shame.
If you had to pick between that and Fury Joyce for 2 belts, and they're both your fighters, so it's easier to make, would you still pursue AJ Fury because it's a mega fight?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's the one that matters. Joe will be the mandatory anyway. Joe Joyce will be the mandatory for the WBO title. So the good thing about it is that even if AJ does vacate, if he were to vacate, then Usyk will have to fight Joe anyway.
Yeah, good point.
But anyway, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And hopefully, as I say, they remain unbeaten and they fight in December. But all this rubbish that's going down about, we didn't really want it. I mean, what planet are people on to even come out with stupid comments like that? Tyson gets nearly 4 times the amount of the purse he would get, more than 4 times the amount of purse he'll get for fighting Anthony Joshua. And it'd be the same thing for Joshua if he's fighting Usyk or somebody else. Financially, it's in their interest. Financially, for us as promoters and the managers and everybody involved, TV companies, pay-per-view, that's the bigger and better fight. Why wouldn't you want that fight to happen? It's just stupid. It's just been handled, it's just a mess, and it's unfortunate, but it is where it is.
How much of a surprise to you was the arbitration ruling? Because although you knew it was always going on in the background, you'd been assured by Bob Arum's team, apparently, that you would probably win the arbitration, that there didn't seem much chance of Wilder being successful.
Well, that's what I was told, because it was over an American contract. That's what I was told. That was the position. I was always pragmatic about it. I felt to myself. In fact, I did an interview on ESPN back in November last year, because it was live then, and I said then, this arbitration has to be dealt with. Stop overlooking it. But I generally thought that the arbitrator would be more of a mediator, and my feelings were that he'd try and satisfy both sides by allowing the fight to take place, but giving some compensation to Team Wilder. But he didn't do that. He just said, obviously we know what his decision is, and I don't know what caused him to think that way, but that's where he was at.
Now, you said about people saying you guys never wanted it and that being crazy. I think one of the reasons why people were skeptical, and it's more on the US side than on your side, is that it appears Bob Arum had the Allegiant Stadium, home of the Las Vegas Raiders, booked for July 24th for a little while. And there was also a tweet from one of his colleagues at Top Rank saying, go ahead.
You're absolutely right, Dan. I think I mentioned to you earlier, Tyson at that stage a few weeks ago was quite getting pissed off with all this. Where if the other side, if Matchroom could have just stopped, keep going on about this, keep putting these statements out, it would have made it easier. Let's get the contract signed. Let's get the deal done. Just parking the arbitration up for a minute. Let's get the deal done, and then announce the fight. But he kept saying, we got it done. Because it was like he was going to be dealing with the Saudis. That was his role, to deal with the Saudis, and it was left to him. But all he kept saying is, "Contracts done. We're going to sign contracts tomorrow. It'll be there tomorrow." Well, it wasn't. And what was happening, it was becoming very frustrating. And Tyson said, "If this is not dealt with, then I want to get to the fight with Wilder, get it out of the way." So Bob prudently booked the venue. That's nothing more than that. And if you look at some of Tyson's tweets over the last, or his Instagrams, whatever it is, over the last few months, you'll see increasingly, I'm going to be fighting Wilder, or I'm fed up with this. It's not happening. All this noise that was just coming out. Even his dad said it as well. I think John was doing it. They're quite close. And my view was, every time I was asked that, until this is signed, it doesn't mean anything. And it's still, as we sit here now, it's still never been signed. Nothing's been signed for the fight.
There was a tweet from a member of the Top Rank team. I think it was Bruce Trampler. I'd have to double check. I'm pretty sure though, saying we've got Fury on pay-per-view in July, and that was from a few weeks ago. So yeah, Aaron booked the venue, and it seems like that was part of the contingency planning as well. That
Correct.
Top Rank had already got it in their head that there'd be a pay-per-view fight between Wilder and Fury in July.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that's why some fans out there might be a bit skeptical about it, because it seems like that was always, and maybe it was just a backup plan, but it seems like it was always on the cards.
It was. I mean, we're not reinventing history. I mean, Tyson made it very clear. That's why he spoke to Prince Khalid, because at that stage, he was saying enough is enough. And it was only Prince Khalid who actually gave him the comfort to move forward. Because otherwise, that day, it would have been off.
So do you think Tyson would have signed?
Let me just say, collectively, the lawyers, all our respective companies' lawyers and so on, have all been talking on a regular basis. On a regular basis, we're always going to get something. And on a regular basis, we haven't. The terms were not finalised at all.
Do you think if the arbitration had gone the other way, Tyson would ultimately have signed for the Joshua fight in the summer?
Yeah, I think it would have happened. The fight wouldn't happen in the summer. The fight probably wouldn't. I don't think the fight would have gone on until September, October.
Just because everything was dragging out.
But that's an opinion. That's an opinion. But the fight would have gone on. I really genuinely believe that. Yeah. Well, I'm saying it would have gone on. Who knows what's going to happen with the Usyk situation?
How disappointed are you? Obviously, you can understand or sympathise with fans who are disappointed. Fury Wilder 3 is a good fight, but it's not Fury Joshua. And again, through no fault of yours, it was built up in fans' minds that Fury Joshua was going to be next. And I know that's something you're not entirely happy about. But how disappointed are you that it's now Wilder rather than Joshua in the opposite corner?
I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed from a business perspective because it's a more lucrative fight and it's a more profitable fight, as I mentioned earlier on. And I'm disappointed because I'm a boxing fan and I've got my ego and who I think will win the fight. I want it to be proven right because I really do fancy Tyson to do a job on AJ.
Now, there's rumours that Wilder did ask for a certain amount of step-aside money, an extortionate amount, you might say. But is that true? Did he ever actually make that clear?
No, he didn't. No.
So he was always set on having this third fight. And if that's the case, do you kind of respect that in a way, considering how badly he lost the second one?
I do. I do. But he's come up with all them crap reasons why he lost the fight. He got beat by the better man on the day. But he's now got a new trainer and obviously he feels he's in a better place. So we will see. I mean, I think that Tyson has to beat him all day long. But he's a big puncher, we know that. And we'll see where we go. One thing's for sure, it gets rid of any obstacles on our side now. For Tyson to come through that fight, gets rid of all obstacles, and there's nothing to stop Tyson fighting whoever he chooses to next.
And also, I suppose it gets rid of any potential ring rust from being out of the ring so long, so he goes into an AJ fight at his very best. Yeah,
and you think about it. I mean, AJ's had a fight in between, hasn't he? And Tyson hasn't. So, if we'd have been waiting, he'd have been out the ring for probably nearly 20 months. That's a long time.
What do you think about AJ Usyk if it does go ahead? How much of a risk do you think it is for AJ in terms of that Fury fight down the line? Could he potentially lose that fight?
But he's a much bigger man. You know, I think Usyk was a magnificent cruiserweight fighter. I think as a heavyweight, I don't think he carries the power that he did as a cruiserweight. He's not like he's a young guy who's moving up to heavyweight. Was he 34 now, something like that?
I think so.
Well, he's around that age, and for a guy to move up at that age, who's probably probably it's tough for him to make cruiserweight, but he can make cruiserweight. To go up to the heavyweight division at that age, I think is a tough call. For me, I think that Joshua would be a big favourite going in there. Having said that, if he gets caught, anything can happen.
So opponents aside, so Wilder and Usyk aside, say AJ and Fury both come through those fights, as we hope they do, what would you see as the major potential stumbling blocks towards AJ Fury happening at the end of the year?
Well, I don't think there'll be any, because there's, if they fulfil their obligations, then it should be a clear run at it. He has, so I'm told, he has one fight left with Matchroom. AJ, Matchroom are going off the DAZN. I don't know whether Joshua's going there. There's talk of him staying at Sky. If he does, then obviously he won't be with Matchroom, or if he doesn't renew with Matchroom, so we won't be dealing with them. But maybe, who knows, that may make it easier, that we can get rid of all the ego out of it, and all the fake news that was going out.
Yeah. So did you deal directly at any point with Fury's management team, or was it always with Matchroom?
Did I deal with Matchroom?
Well, did your side, whether it was you, Bob Arum, MTK, whoever?
Yes. Well, the lawyers all do direct on the phone. Yeah. The lawyers on a regular basis were doing it. Our lawyers, their lawyers, everybody's lawyers were involved in calls, and we were involved in calls as well. So
you feel that removing Matchroom from the equation may make things easier purely because of the media side of things?
No, maybe I'm being a bit, maybe being a bit mischievous there. But if he doesn't renew, then he's out, isn't he? Where we're dealing direct with AJ or whoever his representative. If he stays there, he's there. Maybe his dad should come out of retirement and get a bit of common sense here, rather than this headless chicken approach.
Well, if his dad's watching, maybe he'll take you up on that offer. But there's a lot to go through first.
I'll come and pick him out. I'll come and pick him up.
You can have that famous lunch you've been waiting for, just with him instead of Eddie.
Right, I'll tell you something. I'll be
starving. Yeah. All right, let's move on from that. I think we're going to in danger of doing that subject to death. But I was reading your BT.
Tell me about it.
I was reading your BT column this morning in preparation for this. Sonny Edwards obviously had a great win recently to capture the IBF flyweight title, and you said in the column his next fight will be against the mandatory, the Filipino, Jammer. Good fight by the looks of it. Nice one for Sonny coming off such a great win. Keep the momentum going.
Well, that was part of the deal. To get Sonny in there, we had to pay basically a fee to step aside and so forth to allow Sonny the opportunity. And that's what I understand the IBF now have ordered. And that's a tough fight. It's a good fight. And Sonny's obviously demonstrated in fantastic way that he's there at the top table. He beat the number one. So it is a tough fight, but I think on his day, and he fights like he did last time, I don't think anybody will live with it.
Good stuff. And then next week, we're off to Telford for Daniel Dubois.
Yeah,
obviously, famous Richie Woodall hometown, of course. Daniel Dubois against Bogdan Dinu. Got the opportunity to speak to Daniel yesterday. He seems in a really great place, considering the manner of his defeat against Joe, first fight back. He just seems to be in a really positive, quite relaxed frame of mind. Yeah, we've had a couple of meetings with him and obviously with his manager Martin Bowers and Tony, and they were quite good meetings. And he is, as you say, he is in a good place. And I'm looking for something a bit special for him on the night. He's going to have a lot of pressure on him. There's no doubt about it. He's going to have a real lot of pressure on him because of the situation with how his last fight ended. But it's going to say a lot about him, how he deals with it and how he looks in the ring. Were you a bit disappointed in the change of trainer? Not the person he chose, but the timing of it, because it's only 3.5 weeks that he moved before the fight.
Well, yeah, obviously you want boxers to be settled. You don't want them jumping around, and it was quite alarming. Having said that, he seems very, very happy where he's at with Shane, and Shane is a good trainer. So that's what it is now. We move forward. Martin done a brilliant job with him. When you think he was 15, 16 and 0. And he's now where he's at now, and hopefully he's going to settle down there and stay there, and hopefully Shane can continue getting the best out of him.
And are you in a position to confirm any more of your dates for the summer at this point?
We are looking to do a show in the UK on the 24th of July. That's not confirmed, but we're looking to do a show over here at the same time as one in the States.
And which of your stars or number of stars can we expect to be out on that show potentially?
I would like to get Joe out. I would like to be doing that, and that's what we're working towards.
Okay, so if he does end up fighting Usyk, and we don't know at the moment, that will probably not be the next fight. You'd like him to have one in the middle.
I don't know that's when you look at the time of that. It's all going to depend really what AJ does, isn't it? They're going to make their decision. I think didn't the WBO give him about 10 days to negotiate that it's going to first bid? So that's how it will work out.
And what about the likes?
Sorry, and then after that, we'll know what he's going to. If he's going to defend his title against Usyk, it is what it is. If he doesn't, then we know we've got to try and get over the line between Joe and Usyk ASAP.
And what about the light heavyweights who we're all excited about? Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur, Callum Johnson. When might we see that trio back out?
We're working very, very hard on that, and you will see them all in action on the same card.
Ah, okay. So like a bit of a theme.
That's a little teaser for you. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know when, we don't know where, but we know it's all the light heavyweights on the same show.
It will probably be at the Royal Albert Hall.
Ah, yeah. Well, we've missed that venue, haven't we? Now fans are getting back.
We certainly have.
How many fans are we expecting for next week for Telford?
They're only allowing us 1,000.
Okay.
But it's better than none.
Definitely.
I mean, it's been a nightmare, hasn't it, as far as the boxers are concerned, and certainly for me, the lack of atmosphere. So at least we get some atmosphere. I went to football on Saturday. I went to the Arsenal match on Saturday with fans there. And it's like, even though it was 10,000 in the big stadium, it's still, it generated something there.
Maybe if you've gone to, a team in better form, it would have been even better.
Well, it generated a lot of disappointment about not being in Europe.
Yeah, I can imagine. Things can only get better, to quote D. Ream. Really, really appreciate your time, Frank. Obviously, we're all disappointed the fight hasn't come off yet, but fingers crossed it can still be resurrected for the end of the year.
Keep them winning, and that's what we want. But, we want that. We want the fight. We want to make it happen. We want that fight.
I've had worse two-finger gestures from you over the years, I'm sure. So,
yeah, that was in the old days, mate. And I see what happened to the last person you gave that to. They must have come round and sorted your hand out.
No comment. Brilliant. Cheers, Frank. Really appreciate it, mate.
See you, mate. Take care.